Hey everyone! So in today's video I am going to be talking about what books Booktube made me buy. So if you're interested, keep on watching. Okay, so I have a decent amount of books here that Booktube definitely made me buy. Some of them I liked, some of them not so much, and some of them I haven't even read yet. But the point is that Booktube definitely made me buy them, and most of these I wouldn't have bought if I hadn't watched Booktube. Some of them I probably would have, but I just wouldn't have heard of them if it weren't for Booktube. So yeah, let's get started. The first one I'm going to pull from the pile is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. I ended up really liking this book. I gave it a 5-star. I typically would not have gone for this kind of book though, just based on the description that the synopsis says and the way everybody else described it. I didn't know it was going to be as dark, and there was kind of a thrilling suspense aspect to it. So yeah, I didn't know that upon purchasing it until I read it, and I was like, whoa, what did I just read? This was really good. So briefly, this is just about a girl named Alex, I think, yeah, that's her name, and her older sister Anna was murdered, and basically she gets revenge in certain types of ways, and she becomes violent, and she's not sorry about it. She wants revenge for somebody killing her sister, and that the murderer ended up walking free. And there's a little bit of a feminist twist to this book too, but it's not like too overpowering where you're like, oh my god, this is, you know, too much. She did it so well. I definitely want to read more from this author, but yeah. This is definitely the first one that I would not have bought if it wasn't for Booktube, but I really did enjoy it, so I'm glad that I bought it. And I really like this cover. The next one is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now this one I definitely would never have bought if it wasn't for Booktube, but so many people were hyping this book up. I'm sure you guys seen this book everywhere. Everybody has given it 5 stars. I have not seen anybody give it anything lower or not like this book. So basically this is about a Hollywood star named Evelyn Hugo, and she picks a lady, what was her name? Monique Grant, to write her story, basically her life story, because Evelyn, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but basically she picks she picks Monique to write her life story, so everybody can know what Evelyn Hugo's life was really about. And it's basically going through Evelyn's life with all about her 7 husbands that she's had and what she's went through with them. Describing it that way makes me not really want to buy it, but I was like, you know what? Let me just see what this book is all about, because so many people were hyping it up. And I ended up reading it and really liked it. It was so much different than I thought it was going to be. I don't think I gave it a 5-star. I think I gave it like a 4. It was just a little bit too convenient at times. If you've read this book, you may know what I mean, but just so many things in this book happened like very conveniently and were kind of unrealistic. So that's kind of why I bumped a star down. But other than that, like the aspects that the author added into this book, as far as like, you know, being bi, different kind of races besides just being like white. I think Evelyn was a mixed girl, if I'm not mistaken, so that was pretty cool. You don't see too much of that in a lot of books, so I like that, and I like the bisexuality rep in this as well. But yeah, anyway, I gave this like a 4-star. Some of it was just a little too convenient for me, but it was still a good book. And the next one Booktube made me buy, which I probably would have bought anyway if I've heard of it, but I don't see myself hearing of this book if I didn't watch Booktube, if that makes sense. So this one is Baby Teeth by, I'm not even going to say that. I don't know how to pronounce the author's name. I'm so sorry. Zohe Stage? I don't know. But this one is basically about a very sick, twisted little girl. She's definitely got some mental issues, and, you know, they're kind of trying to figure out if a demon lives inside her as well. But she basically treats her dad like gold. Her dad has no clue what she really acts like when the dad isn't home. And when she's around the mom, she's like a little devil child and basically wants to kill the mom. And the dad doesn't believe, you know, the mom, because he only sees the angel side of his little girl. So yeah, this book was really good. It was pretty twisted, kind of creeped me out because I do have a son. He's only 8 months old, but I can only imagine having a little devil child like that and like them plotting to kill me. I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, I like this book. It was so different. I also like the cover too. I don't know why, I like the cover, but yeah. This one I think I gave 4.5 stars, but Booktube made me buy this because I've seen so many people talk about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try that out. But yeah, if it weren't for Booktube, I probably would have not have ever found out about this book, so I'm thankful for this one. The next one is The Wife Between Us. The Wife Between Us by Greer, Hendricks, and Sarah Pekkanen. I'm sure you guys have seen this book everywhere too. This book was super hyped on Booktube last year. I think I gave this a 4-star. I didn't love it. It wasn't the best thriller I've ever read, but I liked it. I liked it enough to give it a 4-star, and I would recommend it to anybody that likes like domestic thrillers. But it's basically got a love triangle in it, and these two women are both in love with the same man, and there's some inner motives in here that you would never guess was going on. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, and you should go into this book blind. But I did like this book. It's something I probably wouldn't have bought on my own, but just because of all the freaking hype around this, I'm like, I have to buy it, and I ended up giving it a 4 stars. So thank you, Booktube, for recommending me this book so many times. Well, not me specifically, but I saw it everywhere, and everyone was recommending it. You guys know what I mean. Next one. This book I probably would not have bought if it wasn't for Booktube. NOS4A2 by Joe Hill. I also like this cover a lot. This ended up being one of my favorite books I've ever read. I read it in December of last year, and it was honestly the perfect Christmas book in my opinion. If you like, you know, like thrillers, horror, suspense. This book is kind of hard to explain, but if I had to put it into like a few words, I would put Christmassy, horror, otherworldly, family problems, big adventure, and blood and guts. Does that sound interesting to you? I hope it does. So yeah, this was such a good book. I am now in love with Joe Hill, and I actually bought Fireman, heart-shaped box, and what was the other one? Horns. I bought all 3 of those last night because I was just thinking about NOS4A2 and how in love with it I am, and I'm like, now I need to read everything by you. And by the way, I am reading The Shining right now by Stephen King, which is, it's okay so far. I'm probably like 3/4 of the way in. And I don't want to say I like Joe Hill's writing better because I've only read one Joe Hill, and this will be my 3rd Stephen King so far. But compared to everything I've read from Stephen King to Joe Hill, this book, I do like Joe Hill a little bit better. Sorry, Stephen King fans. But I can't really say that yet because I have to read more Stephen and Joe to compare fairly. But yeah, right now, Joe Hill takes the cake. Next one is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. By the way, I hate this cover and I hate mass market paperbacks. Okay, this book I think I gave a 4 stars. So it's basically about a man who wakes up in a world that is not his own. His wife is not the lady that he married, you know, his kids. Nothing is the same for him. It's like a sci-fi thriller. So he's basically throughout this book going through life trying to figure out how to get back to his old life, and he goes through some pretty messed up stuff to try to get back to his old life. You know, he wakes up in a world where he doesn't know what the hell happened and nothing is the same. And I like this book. I gave it like a 4 or 4.5 star. Did have a lot higher expectations for this because of all the hype on Booktube. I probably wouldn't have bought this because I'm not super into sci-fi, but this one was a cool sci-fi. I like sci-fi thrillers, I guess. This was the first one I've ever read, but I would check out more. But yeah, this book is super hyped on Booktube, and I liked it, but I wasn't like crazy obsessed with it like a lot of people are, so yeah. But I don't regret reading it, and I would recommend it if you like sci-fi and thrillers. Next one. The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. He's written some pretty popular books. This is the only book I've ever read from him. I'm sure you guys know what this is about, but basically it's about this family that is staying in a cabin, and these people are outside trying to break in, saying that they need the family's help to stop the end of the world from happening. So a lot of people describe this book as like giving them so much anxiety and they were so freaked out reading this. So I went in thinking that that's how it was going to be for me. But unfortunately I wasn't, like, it gave me a little bit of anxiety, but it wasn't as scary or thrilling as I thought it was going to be. Like, I had so many unanswered questions about this book when I was finished with it, which I'm not going to go into depth in this video, but maybe I will. I don't know. If you guys want to review my review on this book, I would be more than happy to do that. But yeah, it didn't live up to the hype for me. It was still a good book. I would recommend it. It just wasn't as thrilling and scary as I thought it was going to be. And yeah, I still had a lot of unanswered questions after reading this, but it was still overall a good book, and I would definitely read more by Paul Tremblay. I really want to read A Head Full of Ghosts by him. I hear that's really good. So yeah, I bought this because of the hype on Booktube. Don't regret it, but it didn't live up to the hype for me. Next one is Final Girls by Riley Sager. I really like this book, but I will say I did get a little bit confused in it because it does go back and forth from multiple perspectives and different times, like from the past and present. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I read this a while ago, but I'm pretty sure that's how the book goes. Basically, this one was about a group of girls that all went through a tragic time. Basically, a lot of them got murdered, and the main girl, what's her name, Quincy, one of her friends of that friend group, they call themselves the Final Girls because they were the ones that survived this mass killing. One of them dies, and she basically tries to go and figure out what happened to her, and a lot of crazy shit happens to her. This book was better than I expected. I kind of went into this with like low expectations. I don't know why. I just noticed the blurb on the front says, if you liked Gone Girl, you'll like this, but I think this is so different from Gone Girl. Yeah, I don't know why Stephen King said that, but whatever. But yeah, I did like this book, and I want to read more by this author. This one was pretty hyped on Booktube too, but I have seen a lot of mixed reviews on it, but I think I gave this a 4 to 4.5 star. It was pretty good. I do recommend it. The next one is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This is one of the weirdest books I've ever read, and one of my favorite books that I've ever read. Hold on, I need to take a coffee break, because I need some coffee. So, a lot of people on Booktube talk about this. I don't think I would have ever heard of it if I hadn't watched Booktube. I'm sure a lot of you guys know what this is about already, but it's basically a really weird book about a boyfriend and girlfriend driving to his parents' house, and it's just going, it's just talking about the car ride there, and once they get to the parents' house, what happens, and it's really weird. I did feel a lot of anxiety reading this, which I really, really liked. I feel like if a thriller can make you extremely anxious, and when you have to pause in the middle of the book and be like, what the fuck, like, when I was reading this, I looked over to my fiance and I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, there was a super weird part in this book. I mean, this whole book is weird, but the ending I definitely didn't guess. I know a lot of people said they guessed it. I didn't. But I want to reread this for sure. But yeah, if it weren't for Booktube, I don't think I would have ever heard of this book, and I'm glad I did because I gave it 5 stars and I really liked it. By the way, if you guys have any book recommendations, feel free to leave them down below and I would definitely check them out. If you've been watching my videos, you kind of have an idea of the kind of books I like. I really like thrillers, suspense, horror, so yeah. If you know any other books that are weird like this, then let me know, because I really liked it and I've never read anything like that before. There are books here that I definitely would not have bought if it weren't for Booktube. Are you guys ready? I fell into the hype. Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and I have the third one that I can't think of the name, but it's the green one. I read these two and I like them a lot more than I thought I did. I'm not going to go over what these are about because, yeah, I'm sure you guys know what they're about anyway. But as far as fantasy, I don't really read fantasy, like, ever. But I did like the first book, the second book, and the third book got a little too fantasy-like for me. Like, it got to the point where I was starting to lose focus and starting to get confused. But the reason I liked these two books was because they were easy to follow and I knew what was going on. For a beginner in fantasy, I would say if you're a beginner in fantasy, you should try to pick these books up and see what you think of them, because I don't read fantasy at all and I was finding it pretty easy to get through these and kind of follow along. But the third book kind of lost me and I stopped reading it and haven't picked it up for a few months now, which sucks because I'm probably going to have to start from the beginning because I don't know what the hell's going on. But yeah, Booktube definitely made me buy these. I would never, ever, ever buy these. This is like not my realm at all. But I'm thankful they did though, because I ended up liking these and I gave them like both 4 stars. So that's crazy. Now, Bird Box. Josh Mallerman. You guys have seen this book everywhere. You guys have probably watched the movie. Booktube definitely made me buy this because of all the hype around this book. I talked about this in my most disappointing reads video if you want to check that out and see what my full opinions on it are. But basically I was really underwhelmed with this book and I think I gave it like a 3-star. I did like the movie. I feel bad saying this because it's typically not the case, but I did like the movie better than the book. I don't know why. Yeah, I liked the movie better than this book, which sucks because that's typically not how it goes for me. I usually always love the book better than the movie, but yeah, I like the movie better than this. This was disappointing to me, underwhelming. Now, the next one, Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. This was hyped on Booktube so much. You guys have probably seen this book, but it's basically about, what is this even about? Oh yeah, it's about this woman named Louise and Adele, and Louise meets a man on one night out and that man ends up being her boss, and then it's kind of like a love triangle type of thing. I don't want to say too much else because I could spoil things if I go too much further into this, but this was such a weird book. It took a turn that I didn't even think was going to happen, which typically is a good thing, but I don't know, the ending threw me off. It was a lot too unrealistic for me, and it was underwhelming. But I did buy this book because everybody freaking raved about this book. Well, it's really, you either love it or you hate it, and I can't say that I hated it because I enjoyed myself reading it. I just didn't love it, so I'm somewhere in the middle. The ending was just too weird, too out there. Yeah, I don't know. This one was weird, but Booktube definitely made me buy this. Next 4 books that I have not read yet, but they are books that I typically would never ever buy. 3 of them are fantasy, which you guys know is not my thing. I don't ever read fantasy. But the first one is 3 Dark Crowns by Kendra Blake. From my understanding, this is about 3 sisters, and they each have an elemental superpower, which I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm guessing it's a dark fantasy where all these sisters are competing for the crown, and I don't know, but yeah, I definitely bought this because of Booktube. I would never have typically read this book, but I bought it. Okay, next one, Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Now, everybody talks about this book and they really like it. I basically bought this because somebody, I think it was Lisa from Books and Smiles, she said she liked this and she doesn't read fantasy. So that intrigued me and I ended up buying it. Yeah, I have not read this yet, but she said it was really dark and that kind of drew me to it. So yeah, I don't know. When and if I ever get to this, I'll let you guys know what I think of it, but yeah, I would never go for this if it wasn't for Booktube. Uprooted. I read the first page of this book and I was like, alright, I don't think I'm ever going to read this. I might, I don't want to say never, but yeah, Booktube definitely made me buy this. This one is probably like one of the books in my collection that I am least interested in reading. It's supposed to be like a dark fantasy. I honestly don't even know what it's about, but I read the first page and I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. My camera cut me off because it said my video was too long. The last one is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. This one sounded kind of interesting to me. I've seen a lot of people talking about this. From my understanding, it's basically about this lady that gets interviewed and she keeps lying about what her life is really like or something. I don't know, it's something like that. But yeah, I would never buy this book if it weren't for Booktube. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it's good. A lot of people like this book, but then I looked it up and researched it a little bit more, and there's a lot of mixed reviews on it, so I don't know, hopefully I like it, but I am interested in it. So yeah, out of all those books, which one have you guys read, and did you guys like it, did not like it? I'm sure a lot of people on Booktube get, not really pressured, but they feel like they want to read certain books because there's so much hype around them. And then you end up reading it and then you're kind of underwhelmed because there's just so much freaking hype, and then you're like done with the book and you're like, okay, why? Like with Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I'm not saying that was a bad book, but just all the hype. That's why sometimes I don't like, you know, going off of what people say about books, because when they hype up a book so much and then you read it and you're so underwhelmed, you're like, okay, that sucked. So yeah, that's like with Bird Box and The Seven Husbands. But The Seven Husbands didn't suck. I liked that book, but Bird Box was so underwhelming for me. But anyway, those are all the books that Booktube made me buy. Let me know in the comments below what books Booktube made you buy, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I would appreciate it so much, and I hope you guys have a good day. Bye!